Hi guys, my name is Karen and welcome back to my channel Rather Be Reading. I'm here today to do my wrap up for May week 1. I only managed to read 2 things in the first week of May, so I'm just going to jump straight in and talk about what I read. The first book I read was Don't Look Now by Rosalind Noonan. This is a book that I was approved for on NetGalley, so thank you to Kensington Books for approving me for this one. So this is kind of a suspenseful thriller-ish kind of story about a woman who gives birth to twins, but then she isn't financially able to take care of both babies, so she gives one twin up for adoption. And then it's kind of several years later and her daughter is like 14, I think she's about 14, and the other twin kind of somehow comes back into their lives. And then some kind of strange things start happening. I enjoyed this story a lot. I really enjoyed the kind of commentary on nature versus nurture, which is something I really kind of enjoy reading about. I will say that I do find it frustrating when a book doesn't get to kind of the events foreshadowed in the synopsis until like over halfway through the book, which is the case with this story. I think I've said that before, but yeah, that just really frustrates me. If I know something's happening, a lot of times if they've said it in the synopsis and it takes a long time I'm just kind of waiting for that kind of to get going, so that can be really annoying. And while I didn't feel particularly connected to any of the characters, I found like both Harper and Jane to just be really hard to connect with. I did really enjoy the like suspenseful like nature of the story. So overall, I definitely think this book is worth checking out if it sounds like something you might enjoy, and I gave it 4 stars. The final book I completed in the first week of May was All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. Now, first off, I just want to say I love how this book feels. It just has one of those really like buttery soft covers, and then there's some kind of like texture on here as well. I just, nice. Anyway, this book is the story of Finch and Violet. Finch is kind of obsessed with death, not with death, but with, he's constantly thinking about how he might kill himself. And then Violet is dealing with a lot of grief issues as her sister has recently died, and they kind of come into each other's lives and the story kind of goes from there. So I enjoyed this book, but at the same time I did have some real problems with it. It's kind of hard for me to get into some of the problems that I had with this without spoiling the plot. So my Goodreads page is linked down below if you want to go and have a look at my review and see kind of the spoiler things that I talk about in that. But just to kind of sum up a little bit, I like felt connected to the characters, but I didn't like them together, if that makes sense. And I also like found it really sad that there's like no help, or like that so many of Finch's like mental health issues are ignored. But at the same time, sadly, I think that can be a really realistic portrayal of how mental illness is treated. So I mean, I enjoyed that, but at the same time I found it really sad. So while I did have some issues with the story, I was still emotionally connected to the story and like to the characters. I mean, I cried, so I mean that says something about the book, but I did still have issues with it, so I ended up giving this 3.75 stars. I just didn't feel like I could give this a full 4 stars, but yeah, 3.75 stars is what I ended up going with. So that's all I read in the first week of May. Normally when I do these weekly wrap-ups, I would now talk about what I am planning to read in the second week of May, but as the second week of May has already been and gone, I'm not going to talk about that in this wrap-up, but I will be filming my May week 2 wrap-up hopefully tonight if I still have time. If not, I'm really going to try to get to it tomorrow. So having said that, I did purchase one book in the first week of May that I will talk about quickly, and that is Saint Anything by Sarah Dessen. I quite enjoy Sarah Dessen. I know some people have some problems with her, that her stories are a bit too similar or that they're a bit too, I don't know, but I really enjoy her stories. I started reading Sarah Dessen when I was in high school, and her book Dreamland, which is the book of hers that I first read, I don't know why, but I really, really connected with that story, and I love that story. It's one of my all-time favorite books. It will always like be special to me, and I then went on to read all of the rest of her books, and I think because I like loved her so much when I was younger, like I'll always just feel emotionally connected to her and her stories. So I wanted to support her, and I have actually heard really good things about this book, Saint Anything. I don't know too much about what it's about, and I don't want to know too much until I read it. But yeah, so I'm really hoping to get to this soon, and hoping that I love it as much as I love Dreamland. So that's everything that I have for this wrap up. Let me know what you guys have been reading. I'd love to know. But yeah, that's all I've got for you today. Bye guys. Apologies if the angle just changed. I had just turned off the camera because I thought I'd finished filming this, but I just remembered that I forgot to mention that I also DNF'd a book this week. I've said in past like videos that you may have seen that I very rarely DNF books. Before this year, I'd actually only ever DNF'd a book once, I think, maybe twice, but I think once, and this will now be the third book that I've DNF'd this year. It does give me a lot of anxiety to DNF a book, but I'm getting a bit more okay with it. Like, there's so many books out there, so many books I want to read. I just don't want to waste time on reading a book that I'm just not enjoying. So the book that I DNF'd was actually the book that I started right at the beginning of May, and that was The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. I have seen the movie adaptation of this book. I've seen it a really long time ago though, and I don't actually remember that much about it. I remember kind of the plot, but that's about it. And so I thought I'd check out the book, but I just really didn't enjoy it. I can't even really put my finger on what it is about the book that I didn't enjoy. I mean, I didn't really like the writing. I just wasn't enjoying it at all. I was actually to the point where I was putting off reading when I would normally be reading because I didn't want to be reading this book. And so that's why I decided to just give up and just move on to something else, because I don't want to waste my time feeling, you know, I don't want to feel like reading like it's a chore. I want to enjoy the things that I'm reading. So yeah, I DNF'd this. I know that Jeffrey Eugenides, the other book of his that I've really heard of is Middlesex, and I did see in a lot of the reviews of The Virgin Suicides, people said that they loved Middlesex, so they decided to check out this book, and they really didn't like this book, and they couldn't believe it was, you know, kind of written by him as well. So I do still think that I may check out Middlesex further down the line, as I may enjoy that one a lot more than I did this one. But yes, unfortunately I DNF'd that book this week. So once again, that's all I've got for you today. Bye guys!